Invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, welcome everyone to the December 7th meeting. Minutes of November 16th. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes and pay the bills?
Second.
Oh, the minutes. Got a motion and a second on the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. We have a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Gene, you're up. 2021 annual planning report presentation.
Good afternoon. The town is required to do an annual planning report submitted to the State of Maryland Department of Planning. The Planning Commission in June, on June 6th, had reviewed this and approved it, recommended approval of this. It's a short form due to the number of residential permits issued. If it's less than 50, the state requires a short form. Just a quick summary of the activities, major planning activities in the past year. So we had 39 residential building permits issued in 2021. A couple of amendments to the zoning ordinance where we permitted veterinary offices in the business industrial zone and commercial apartments in the C1 zone. And we had one annexation, the Ayers annexation, out there on off 279 and Bell Hill Road. 18 variance requests and 8 special exceptions. If you have any questions, it was a pretty short but necessary. It has to be, what's required is it has to be presented and filed with the local legislative body, so.
Very good. You need us to, we actually already approved this, right?
I think you can just approve it and
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the 2021 annual planning report?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Gene, thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Southfield's update. Mr. Ray Jackson, come on down.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Aye.
Happy holidays. So, I wanted to take a little time this afternoon and discuss the current status of Southfields, where we are, how we got here, and then I think what we need to do to get the process shovels in the ground. So, very quickly, we started a project in the summer of 2019. I asked to convene a meeting with the town staff. Some of the commissioners were present, the mayor was present, talked about what we were going to build. Made sure that everybody was on board with what we were doing and the processes and the product and the potential strategic partners. I want to let you know that today with us, we have a representative from Trammell Crow, who's our strategic partner on the warehouse industrial side.
Ray, I apologize for interrupting you. Can you speak into the microphone?
Sure, absolutely. Is that better?
And we'll see if we're getting messages that you're unable to be heard.
Everything's muted. Can't hear anything on the Zoom.
Okay, bear with me. Sorry about that.
First time raising it.
Yep. See, we're all muted.
I got it.
It was quicker than you thought.
Yeah, I know. Let's see, just bear with me.
Is that
Can you give me
better?
a
Yep.
test?
That's good.
Everybody good? Everybody happy?
So basically, just to recapitulate what I was saying is that we all had a meeting of the minds. This is what we were going to do, and this is the processes that we were going to take, and these are the types of products that we were going to be offering, so on and so forth. And I believed at that point in time everybody was in agreement. And we started processing the plans. As you well know, we went through the PUD process, which was new in the town of Elkton, so there was a learning curve for everybody involved. We processed the PUD, we got the PUD approved, and then my job was to bring in the strategic partners. The strategic partners are, as I mentioned, Trammell Crow, Fortune 500 company, one of the largest industrial developers in the country. We have D.R. Horton, the largest home builder in the country. We have Greystar, the largest multifamily residential developer in the country. Alliance Capital, whom I'm going to speak to in a minute. Sideline Properties, Mike Brown and his organization, a local developer. And the reason that I wanted to talk about that again is it's important. It shows that national developers want to be in Elkton, Maryland. Okay? So that's part of my job. My job is to put the team together. So we started the process of going through the design of the project. And again, I will say that this is new. This process is new for the town of Elkton. It's a large job. But believe me when I tell you, Trammell Crow has done it 100 times. D.R. Horton has done it 1,000 times. Greystar has done it 1,000 times. This is what they do. This is what we do, okay? So the process, basically started with the industrial side, with the warehouse side, and Trammell Crow. I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna ask McLean Fisher from Cushman Wakefield to come up here. I want him to explain to the group what the process is. There's been some questions as to why a company would build a $100 million building without a tenant. And I want to make sure that that's perfectly clear why it's done. It's a business practice that happens every day. So,
good afternoon, everybody. Ray asked me to come up and speak to everyone today and sort of describe the process. And this is what we do, industrial real estate. We are along I-95. This is infrastructure for logistics-related needs within the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and effectively product is coming in from different locations, primarily from the port drays from the Port of Baltimore to locations like this along I-95. Our market between the Port of Baltimore and the Delaware line is about 100 million square feet. Most of that is made up of what we call speculative development. So because these decisions are made within a very short period of time for folks within the supply chain segments of each company, these decisions are made not so much on a build-to-suit basis, but more so a building is up, we have a need for a distribution center within a certain area, and we can move forward on that. And I'll give you two examples that we've been involved in the past. One with Trammell Crow in Northeast, which was a 716,000 square foot building. It was built, the building was built, and in about 12 months after it was completed, a company called Bella and Canvas leased the building, as they were only looking for opportunities with assurances that the building would be built, that they could move in, begin their distribution network, versus building right now, particularly that, we see a lot of issues within the world of development because there are delays and things like that. So Northeast Maryland was a great example. It took about 12 months to get that building leased from shell completion. I'd also look at another project we did in Aberdeen on Old Philadelphia Road that was 500,000 square feet. And that was about 12 months later that building was leased to Fanatics.com.
Can you go to the next slide? So the purpose, and I'll invite you all to ask questions of McLean if you have them, but I want to share this with you. So Trammell Crow came in here and made a $20+ million initial investment to buy land, okay? They've got $50 to $100 million investment now in the first building. Again, they want to be in Elkton, Maryland. My position is we need to embrace that, right? They are a Fortune 500 company who has made a business decision. I think one of the comments that was initially posed to me was, well, what if we approve the warehouse and the logistics and then no houses are built or nothing else is built? Well, that's where we are today. And I'm gonna discuss that in a minute, okay? But the biggest fear that was expressed by some people now is coming to fruition, and that concerns me. So the reason that I asked to show this plan is you see all the three buildings to the south below, and then there's another building right here up top, okay? And that Trammell Crow is now purchasing another property. That's the Williams property that my company is purchasing. We're subdividing that property. Trammell Crow's taking another 20 acres there. They're building another 350,000 square foot building. They are fully invested in Elkton, Maryland. So, again, my position is we should embrace that. We need to embrace that. The second two parcels up there, one will be a subsidiary of Apple Ford. It'll be a national car dealership there. And then the other 2-acre pad site will be a retail pad site. So you know, the purpose of me having McLean here today was I wanted to make sure you all understood what the process was. They come in here, they entitle the ground, they design the building, it goes through the design and approval process, they build the building, and they secure the tenant. That's what the process is.
McLean, real quickly, once this has a total build-out, what do you think the estimated value of those 4 buildings would be?
We've seen a lot of value changes given the volatility in the debt markets, but you know, we were seeing pretty significant values as early as Q1 this year at a, you know, speaking of cap rates, but I would say that you're looking at probably, boy, I wouldn't even want to estimate as of today, but it's a considerable investment and value there, and it's certainly, you know, significant from a job creation standpoint and overall to the community.
It's north of $300 million.
Okay.
So, but that gives you an idea. So that sets the stage for where we are. So during the PUD process, it's all inclusive. So, you know, we got approved the industrial warehouse, we got approved the residential, we got approved Mike's Sports Complex, all in concept, right? Now we have to put pen to paper and we have to move forward to get plans approved. So where we are now, Mike, if you could go to the next slide, if you don't mind, thank you. We're finished.
Thank you.
So now where we are, so that, all of that is on the north side of the PUD, correct? Right off of Route 40, right, Maloney Road, that's where we're talking about. Now I need to start talking about the west side of the PUD, so everything on 213. So during that process, we've got to get infrastructure plans approved. We've got to design a boulevard, we've got to design water, sewer, water tower, sewer pump stations. It's an exhaustive process. It's time consuming, and it takes a team effort, okay? And that's one of the things, when I first came in here, back in 2019, I sat down here and I said, this has got to be a team effort. We've got to be collaborative here, we've got to be all hands on deck. And I wanted to let you know where we are. So I have my partner here from D.R. Horton. I'm going to invite him to come up. If you have questions, I'll defer to him. But I will tell you that we have over $1.5 million that we've spent on engineering for the boulevard, for the water tower, for the stormwater management, for what we call the infrastructure drawings. And we still don't have any approvals. I was fortunate enough to meet with Gene recently. Gene has been a godsend. Gene has worked diligently, and I'm incredibly appreciative of Gene. But what's happened is again, because of the size of this development, you all have never processed something like this before. So here's the hiccup that we've had. So we have to design a boulevard, we have to design water, sewer, infrastructure and all. First, get that approved before you can get final approvals for parcel C, which is D.R. Horton's piece, which you're looking at right now. So D.R. Horton got their preliminary plan approval over 18 months ago. 18 months ago. So if you look at our original schedule, They should have been building houses this past summer, okay? So that causes my strategic partner, D.R. Horton, concern, and rightfully so. Again, we have $1.5 million worth of just engineering drawings without any approvals. So now you have a hiccup in the economy. Now you have, interest rates going up. Things that are external to us that we can't control, but are definitely going to affect us. My point is that in the next 30, 60, 90 days, I need to ask that all hands are on deck here. That we get through this process, we get these approvals done, and we get the shovel in the ground, okay?
I'm gonna stop for a second. I was just trying to wait until the presentation was over, but I thought we was past this part. I mean, I haven't talked to you since the last time you was in here, but I thought we was past this part. I'm sitting here right now listening to what you're saying. We have no financial ties into what you're dealing with. You got the money, you're doing what you need to do. And I thought we said you got the green light to go here. But yet, we're hearing the same thing, like you said, from months ago, coming back to us. Out of all the towns and cities I've seen around us, Northeast, Middletown, we're the stagnantest town I've seen so far with getting something built. And I'm just gonna let you know my mind on this, because I'm excited about the program, or the process when you first came in. Now I'm saying to myself, I'm not into the planning department, I'm not into the zoning department, I'm not into that. But I'm just saying that I thought we made it clear that you guys were gonna move forward, and if I had millions of dollars into something, I would want my process to go smoothly. And I work with companies, and I don't want to bring names, but companies that have investments with products that we make. If we stop, then the whole thing goes out the window. And that's what it sounds like to me with what you're dealing with.
You know,
I'm a little fed up.
Earl, I would say that I'm the rah-rah guy. You know what I mean? I try to approach the situation by the simple analogy that you attract more bees with honey. And I've tried to be nice about this. It is all of our money. I personally have $20+ million invested here. Okay? Here's my issue. My issue is that I built Bell Hill Road, the project at Bell Hill Road. I should have earned some goodwill from that. That's a beautiful project. It's stabilized. It's in great shape today, right? I've come up here. Everything I've said I was going to do, I've done. I've done more. I will tell you that. I think most of the people on the board will acknowledge that. I actually specifically said to Jean Minner last week when I had an opportunity to meet her, have I ever put you in a compromising position? Have I ever asked you to do something that was improper? Have I ever crossed a line? And I would ask you to ask her that. Her answer was no. The mayor was privy to that meeting, okay? I haven't asked for anything that's improper here. What we've had is we've had a breakdown in communication, okay? I'll take some responsibility here. I'm not pointing the finger. I'm saying this is cumulative. This is a group effort, right? I'm taking responsibility. That's why I'm here. I've been deficient in that I should have been here every month. That's where I'm deficient. I should have been communicating with you all every month, and I take that responsibility. But what's happened specifically is we need to design the boulevard, get the boulevard approved before we can start approving the other parcels. It's held everything up, okay? And I think we're getting there. We are getting there. We're making great strides. They had a turnover at KCI. There's a new person working at KCI. He's been instrumental in helping us. Gene has been great. Okay. The problem lies is that instead of just saying no, listen. Understand what you're saying no to about before you say no. That's the problem. So I think I'm being held accountable for the past sins of previous developers in the town of Elkton.
Now, again, I'm trying to wait until your presentation's done. But we as a board, we're in support of this project. And I don't, when you say no, I don't see where the no's coming from. Because I'm up here to support. I can speak for the rest of them, but they can speak for themselves. But I'm a little frustrated because I sit there and watch Northeast build up when we had pictures coming in from you guys' warehouse, when the warehouse was being built. Then Northeast has portions, and then portion next to me, they're complete in less than 6 months. And something's wrong with the system. That's basically what I'm saying. Something's wrong with the system.
There is something wrong with the system.
And I don't know what it is because I'm not in that, I'm up here. I'm not in the system.
And that's what
I'm
we're
no
trying to
frustrated.
figure out. We're trying to figure out a better way to facilitate this. And I think that there's been things that have happened in the past in the town that have created negative impressions of processes like this. That's what I would say. I'm gonna give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But here's what I wanna say. Trammell Pro is not gonna do something that's improper. They're not. They have a $300+ million investment. They wanna be here. D.R. Horton is the largest home builder in the country. They're,
Okay, can we narrow this down just a little bit for my brain to follow you? Mike, where are you in the approval process with your parcel? Is it preliminary?
We've already got
Fine.
preliminary approval, and we've worked through stormwater grading and some other approvals now, so we're very close to.
Do you foresee a problem getting final?
Not as of right now, no. Not since we changed engineering terms and moved forward.
But are you being held up by the boulevard?
yes, he is. He
Yes.
can't design his stormwater management until then.
Yes, absolutely right. Yes,
So you probably won't get final without that?
and we could
Unless
not
you get
construct
exception.
anything or put a shovel in the ground until then. That's
Okay, or conditional final, perhaps,
Yep.
right? Okay,
It's
I'm
us.
sorry, I didn't know if the development of Mike's property being recreational facility was any different from the development of D.R. Horton's property being residential. It's just the boulevard and the water tower?
Well, we could really drill down, I'll email you specific examples if that's what you want, but here's the bottom line.
I'm
The
trying
bottom
to-
line is we can't design final plans, we can't go in front of the planning commission for final plans until the stormwater management is done. The stormwater management can't be done until the first phase, which is the boulevard is done. Typically, what happens is you get conditional approvals. It's exactly what
But I
happens.
thought they were all tied together. I thought the boulevard was tied in with the residential.
It's tied into everything.
No, I meant on the plans for approval.
Well, no, there's an infrastructure set of plans.
Okay.
There's a set of plans for parcel C, which you're looking at.
Right.
There's a set of plans for parcel D. There's a
Right.
set of plans for Mike. They're all separate and
Right,
distinct.
but isn't the boulevard on parcel C plan?
No, it's actually a separate parcel.
It is separate.
It's separate, yes.
I just didn't recall it being separate.
It's separate. It's a whole separate set of plans.
Okay, so we can take, actually, can we take D.R. Horton out of the holdup? I mean, out of the equation here?
Well,
Or is there a separate problem with their approvals?
do you want to answer that, Jay, or do you want me to answer it?
I'm Jay
Sorry,
Highland, brother, I'm with.
Hi, yes, we've met.
Yep, so we do have still stormwater management concerns in there that we have to get through. We're still quite a bit of ways from having full construction plans to be able to develop anything on parcel C. But we can't get to parcel C without the boulevard.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah.
That's a given. Okay, I just want to make sure that we need to focus, in my mind, on the boulevard.
Well, here's the problem. That's a great statement, but we're so far behind right now, we're 2 years behind. We have to focus on, and I will tell you, I volunteered to bring in a third party and pay to do this, just FYI. We have to process these other parcels,
Right.
because let's say hypothetically, we're 60 days away from the boulevard, hypothetically. right?
Okay.
That means they can't really start their final pencil drawings until the boulevard's approved, because there's computation and things that they have to take into consideration for stormwater management.
Okay.
So that's the bigger issue. So what we need to be doing is processing simultaneously. And that is burdensome for Gene, in all fairness to Gene, that's a lot of work. One of the things that we've been discussing is that KCI is your third-party engineer. KCI is who should be handling this burden. And they are, they absolutely are. They, I believe now, have the capacity to do it. They did have a shortage, they had some people down, I'll defend them, but I need to make a statement that we have got to be all hands on deck here. We've
Okay.
got, you know,
Has there been a turnover at MRA at all?
at all engineering firms, but
I mean, I
on
didn't know
this
what the
job,
holdup
no.
on their end is. Why they have to make multiple submissions all the time and revamp them and change them and, what that particular issue is. I don't know.
Well, there was a calculation issue, there was a dispute about the ways to calculate things, and there was an approval done on the industrial side that can't move forward over to the other side. So we had to take all those computations out and start that process over. If you want to talk specifics, there was an issue about Maryland Department of the Environment and how they were going to handle stormwater management. We got a letter from Maryland Department of the Environment deferring back to you all, and it still took us 3 months to get through that process. So these are the kind of things that can be conditionally approved and move processes forward. And I think the best way to facilitate this, just a suggestion, is when we have an impediment and I can't get a decision from the staff, I would like to be able to come in here and discuss it. Because that will help expedite this process. If I have the ability to come in here once a month and say, this is the specific issue that I have, and it's not getting resolved, and here's the chronology of it, and share it with you, I think we'll make a lot of progress.
That
Just
might
a
have
suggestion.
That
I
might
don't
have
want to
helped
burden
along
the board,
way.
but
I think it would help. So how far down the road are we toward getting approval on the boulevard? What is the roadblock that we've hit, and how do we get past it?
we're close, and I think that I think that it's not the boulevard now. I'm worried that it's then gonna be parcel C, and then it's gonna be parcel D, and
It's
so-
the same problem each time. Well, we really don't want that. I think the whole board is behind this project.
You know, I heard you when you first came in, you talked about business wants to come to Elkton. I think that's good. Anybody wants, you know, anybody different to come inside to make us better. And then I followed your spiel and we talked about the different fears that you have. And certainly I can understand that. And I'm listening to you when you're talking good rhetoric. Everybody on the board has participated in their own thoughts to say this is what we want. But please know, you know, even though we're board members and I think we are an intelligent group of people, there's got to be a driving force behind us. Now, you just mentioned all the entities are coming together. So I'm saying to you, for this, if you're going to war against the enemy, you got to have a leader. With all that we're talking about in here today, there's got to be a hiccup or a problem someplace. What is it? Because we're going to talk forever, because after the meeting here, after we will give you our approval again, where does it go from here to get the problem solved?
I think it starts at the top.
Before you answer that, I'm gonna look over here. Hey, Louis, you've been guiding us all this time for all these projects and helping us out with projects. Where exactly, you're listening to it, but yet, we're the board members. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence first.
Once
Let me finish my sentence first.
CWA for the board to approve.
Let me finish my sentence first.
Project.
Let me finish.
So we need the plans.
Let me finish what I'm saying first, okay? I'm just saying, if we're doing what we need to be doing, and legally, and he's talking about hiccups and can't get things signed off and stuff. You should be guiding us and telling us where we're at in this process. That's what I'm saying right now. We're up there arguing about something.
I mean, we have to deal with a lot of regulatory issues here. Wetlands, MDE, critical area, there's lots of things involved in development. It isn't simply the board saying it's okay. If it was okay, Mr. Jackson would be out there with a backhoe tomorrow digging holes. I mean, you know, it's more complicated than that.
So where is the disconnect right now then?
I think Gene's getting close to the boulevard, the plans that can be submitted for a PWA, then they can start work there. I don't think that's getting close.
And getting close means how much time?
I don't know.
Gene?
From what I understand, there's an issue with stormwater volume coming off the boulevard, and you're required to ensure that water leaving the site doesn't exceed post-development, that it is pre-development. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but because you've got the boulevard and developments on both sides of the boulevard happening at different times under different ownerships, there's an issue with handling the stormwater coming off half the boulevard that needs to be controlled. I had recommended a sediment trap on parcel F as an interim until the stormwater for the parcels on both sides of the boulevard could be developed and handle the stormwater. I'm not sure where that stands with building a sediment trap, a temporary sediment trap to hold that, but the other alternative, they would have to come up with other alternatives. If they exceed all their alternatives, they have to prove that they can't comply with this. They could request a waiver, but that means they're discharging stormwater into the swales on 213 and then ultimately south of the town at a higher rate than what is currently leaving the site. So there could be unintended consequences with that. We would just need to see more analysis of that. But they either need to capture the stormwater coming off half of Southfields Boulevard, or they're going to request a waiver, in which case we would need to know what the effects of that would be before the town could grant that.
All right. So
They're rarely granted. Waivers are rarely granted for
And
stormwater.
we'll build a trap tomorrow.
But you've already heard this, right?
We will build a sediment trap tomorrow.
Okay.
We just need to be told. We just need to know what direction
Well,
it is.
that's my
Does
question.
the boulevard have to be approved by the planning commission at this point, or is it through that process?
The boulevard is part of the site planning process, so it was, even though it's a separate parcel, it's just basically approved. They just need to get the engineering
It's
completed for it.
engineering drawings at this point.
Okay. But you heard all this before from her, right? Which we just all just heard?
Yeah, but what's happening is there's just contradictory messages. So Gene will give us her input, and then KCI will give us something that might be contradictory. And then our engineers argue with that, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth. That's what's causing, so
Okay,
again,
alright.
my suggestion last time I was here, I asked to have KCI, I would pay for it. Get KCI here once a week. I'll get my engineers here, we'll put KCI in a room, and then if there's an impediment, I would bring it to the board and say, we're at a stalemate, let's resolve it. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm trying it's impediment resolution is the easiest way to explain it. How do we stop these things that are stopping us dead in our tracks? We will talk about this for 3 weeks.
So who was your primary contact for the town of Elkton as you go through this process?
My primary contact is Gene.
Okay,
Okay, my engineers and
I
people-
understand all that,
Yes,
talking
sir.
about from the town of Elkton.
My primary contact, I would say, would be the mayor and the board.
Well, we are, but we also hired an administrator who is our everyday contact person for the business program. I'm just trying to make it easy for us to
I
understand. who you contact.
struggle communicating with your town administrator. I will say that.
So the boulevard right now, to address that, we're close.
I believe we're very close.
And I think that I want to continue to hear the presentation, because I think it's great for us to be up to date with everything. But I would say to you that we need to get to the, you used the words the other day, how do we get to the finish line, right? And how do we move from today on so there's no hiccups for these parcels?
And I've made some suggestions, one of which would be put the engineers in a room together, once a week, once every other week. I'll pay that bill. The other suggestion is, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna start requesting a meeting. I'm gonna ask to talk to you all once a month.
I'd love to see you every month. I want to know what's happening.
I'm gonna need to do that. I take responsibility there, I'm deficient there.
If you have a meeting with the engineers, if it's something that would work, would you be there too?
I need to be there now, yes.
Okay.
I would say let's get it on the calendar every other week.
Okay, we're gonna facilitate that.
Do you guys agree with that?
agree.
You guys agree?
For the engineers? Yeah.
So we'll schedule staff with your engineers, and it'll be done every 2 weeks.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, let's move on.
So, do you have any questions of Jay?
Listen, I'm looking forward to these houses being built.
Yes.
I know that there's an absolute need for housing, even though the rates are going up. We've got, I use the word robust growth a lot, but we've got a lot of growth in our town. It's growing, we've got jobs, there's more jobs than houses, and we need you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to being here.
Can you put that one shot again of the boulevard and the houses? There you go. Is this new?
This is the updated version of it, yes. We
I was
lost-
gonna say, I don't recognize that layout at all.
There's been some density loss, and this is the current plan that we are in preliminary approvals on for 146 units.
So was this to address the outstanding issues?
There were some forestry concerns that we wanted to
Stormwater
stay away
maybe, I
from.
don't know.
Yeah, some
Okay.
stormwater, there's definitely a stormwater concern. We've had a couple submissions for that.
Okay, I've seen, I was looking at this and I'm like, I'm not familiar with this one. Of course, I hadn't looked at my packet yet, it was delivered yesterday, so I don't know if you're in there or not. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there was-
this looks interesting to me because this is probably the third or fourth,
I'd say fourth. Yeah,
Fourth?
the original one.
different layout.
Yeah, I think why you were concerned about the boulevard being part of parcel C is because initially there were units
yeah.
that were facing the boulevard.
There sure were. I mean, originally, there were houses coming off the boulevard, there was parking off the boulevard.
Absolutely, yeah.
That has changed significantly.
Mhm.
But then you also had a lot of open space in between the houses at one point that didn't make sense to me,
Right.
personally.
Right,
Accessibility alone was.
exactly.
So therein is a question in my mind. We can only react to what we're given, and you know what I mean by that.
Mhm.
So hopefully, we've come to the point where that layout is gonna work.
I
And
believe it.
I really got my fingers crossed, I hope it does.
We do too,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in and beg your patience.
So
We
is
are
there,
determined to expedite this as quickly as we can.
We greatly appreciate it.
so you all are gonna meet, so is there a need for anybody to keep up abreast it or what? So we can be in tune?
I'm gonna make sure that one of us can attend every meeting. We'll try to do it on a Wednesday, so I'll handle the invites.
Thank you.
Uh,
I think that's a great suggestion, and I'm appreciative of that, thank you.
And I would want to say one other thing. Commissioner Brumel is our planning commission ex officio, and we appreciate you with your questions.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I think a lot of people may not be aware of that.
Oh, I just look smart.
I know you're doing a great job with it too.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So again, my job is to keep DR board engaged and involved and get them started to build. So that's why I asked Jay to be here today and answer any questions. I'm going to go through the rest of it very quickly, just to give you an update. So Gray Star is our developer, Andy Metz, came in here, I believe, and spoke to you all. So they are the contract purchaser of parcel D. Mike, can you go to the next one? So that was the layout that was presented to the planning commission and approved. The preliminary plan has been approved. I will let you know that Andy has 95% construction drawings done, but Andy cannot submit again until we get the boulevard situation. So I don't want to belabor that point. We're starting to make some potential considerations of parcel D1. That's another 10.5 acre parcel that's right on Whitehall Road. It backs up to the multifamily residential. That we feel that we could expedite that process, so we might start processing D1. We've been processing D, but we might be coming back in here and talking about D1. I just wanted to mention that. The next thing I want to discuss with you is the retail partner. You have not met them yet. They're Alliance Capital. They're out of South Florida. They've got over $500 million worth of assets that they own and they manage. They're all national branded retail. We are definitely going to be, we're in conversations with fast casual restaurants, full sit-down restaurants. There's been 2 hotel brands that we've met with. All of these processes are going forward. I want to set expectations. Retail is typically the last thing that occurs, okay? You build your rooftops, you get some density, and then the retail comes. What is happening in this case is that we are farther behind because of the world and the markets. They want to start processing their plans now. That's a good thing for us. So you will be meeting the people from Alliance Capital here shortly. You'll get some better understanding of the potential tenants that we will have, and how that process is going to move forward. Obviously, the retail is critical with Mike as well, okay? That ties in directly with Mike. Thanks, Mike. Can you go to the next one, please? Do you want to take a minute and talk about where you are?
Sure. I think I took enough time last meeting, but I'll just kind of update it. We have committed to doing a feasibility study to occur in conjunction with the town's bond rating procedures. To date, the town has not started that procedure. We are now another month behind. We have invested and completed the flyover rendering, and we are 2 months into our feasibility study, which will be done on January 16th. This is just another example of the town mayor and commissioners saying they want to move forward with something, and the town administration not doing it. That's my opinion of that. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I see it as a serious concern, and I think that was exemplified in our meeting last week, Mr. Mayor, and I'm concerned about it. Not just for this, but as we move forward. If we don't believe in these things together, then what are we doing here? We have real money invested, real personal money invested in this. Thank you.
Can you go to the next one, please? So that's Mike's, the overview of Mike's property. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the special tax district. I want to update you on the special tax district. So as you all are aware, we passed a resolution, you all passed a resolution in 2020 authorizing a special tax district for Southfields. Basically what that means is the overlay of the property that's owned by Southfields would have a special tax district that would pay for the boulevard, the stormwater management, the water tower, sewer pump stations, all of this infrastructure. These are tangible assets. All of these assets get deeded over to the town of Elkton. They become an asset of the town of Elkton. Originally, the plans and the specs and the costs aligned with that are $15 million. Those prices have gone up significantly. Here's what's happened. Because of the delays, because of the cost of money, the interest rate increases. Again, things that are external to us but are real issues in the world. Our value of that $15 million bond now is $10 million. So we are short over $4.5 million. Okay, so that has put us in a bad financial situation because of these delays. I just want to make sure everybody understands that there are consequences to these delays. So when, you know, when I offer to put a reader board on, or I offer to put a fountain in the middle of the boulevard and things like that, I don't have those monies now, okay? So we're gonna lose part of this infrastructure and part of these assets and part of the beautification of this development because of this. That causes me a concern. So we'll get through it, we'll process through it. But again, I want to make this point so that we know going forward, there are consequences to these breakdowns in communication and the slowness or the tardiness of these approvals. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's what I'm dealing with now, okay? So the last thing I want to talk about, and I briefly mentioned it, if we can talk, and I don't want to spend a lot of time. I had a great conversation with Gene Minner about this, because this is the park that I have offered up. And basically what this is it's approximately 10 to 12 acres. It's on the river. It's at the end of Frenchtown Road. And what I had suggested to the mayor and to Gene is deeding the property over to the town, okay? One of the concerns would be, okay, that's great, once we get this 10 acres, what do we do with it? How do we pay for it? I will tell you what I have done. Can you go to the next slide, please? I have worked with a group.
And this is the 10 acres you're talking about?
This is the 10 acres here, which includes a kayak launch or small craft launch area, a fishing pier. It includes a boathouse. It includes a sandy beach, obviously parking. One of the things that has been discussed is an open-air amphitheater for concerts and plays and things of that nature. Maybe some sports-type courts, pickleball courts or volleyball courts or whatever. So it's concept only right now, okay? But what I did is I went to the governor and I made a request on your behalf to fund this park. Okay, so this is the goodwill I'm talking about. I'm not getting paid for this, all right? But this helps the story of Southfields. This helps the town of Elkton. This is the right thing to do. I will say that I would get a financial benefit in that if I deed the property over to the town, I would get a tax deduction. There's no money that changes hands, but my entity would get a tax deduction for that. But here's what I did. I worked with the mayor. I worked with your state delegate. I worked with the state senator. And I put a package together on my nickel. And we made a submission on behalf of the town of Elkton to the state of Maryland to fund this park. I will tell you, there's going to be an allocation. You're going to get an award. Okay? And it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 year process, and it'll be a 2 or 3 year award. And I apologized to Jean the last time I saw her, because it's going to be work for Jean. And I said, what we should do now is we should talk about this, and we should figure out the way to facilitate this. One of the things that I did when I broke down this budget is I put in entitlements and approvals. And we ought to seriously give consideration, if and when this comes to fruition. I'll tell you, they're going to come out with the budget probably the first week of January, and we're going to know where we are in the budget. And then what I would suggest to you is get Gene help through an engineering firm to help start planning this and processing this. I apologize, because the last thing I wanted to do is overburden her. Okay? My selfish motive is, I got to get C approved, I got to get D approved, I got to get E approved and F approved and the boulevard approved. I don't want to take Gene away from that, okay? That's my selfish position. But I will tell you, this is going to happen. So we need to make a decision if this is something that we collectively want to do. And if you don't want to do it, it's okay. I need to be respectful of the governor's office and rescind that request. So that's the last thing I want to share with you today.
How do you feel about it, Earl?
Well, I'm telling you right now, this is another side of me that you're seeing, because I'm completely taken with this presentation you've given me. because I haven't talked to you for a long while, and I'm kind of stumbling on some of the things that you talked about. I don't know whether I have to do this or you, Mayor, but I would like to call for a closed meeting. Mayor and commissioners, staff, and I would like the personnel on the property. That's what I'd like to have a closed meeting for. That's this meeting. Reason why I'm saying that is, I have seen so much go on through the last few towns, Northeast, Rising Sun, and everything's directed towards that way. And living here 65 years is like we're just sitting here. We complained about the recreation center. Everybody was complaining about what, that's up and running. Everything's fine. But it took a hell of a lot of work to get that done. But everybody's smiling and giggling now since it's up and running. I don't want to see a good project go out the window because somebody's holding it up. And when we have this meeting, we'll find out who the somebody is, and then we get to the bottom of it. And that's my take on this.
So we'll call the meeting after this meeting's over.
I'm fed up with this.
Anything else?
Isn't that enough?
Well, listen, I'm excited about seeing all this. This is,
We're getting there, and I'm appreciative of you all.
we're getting close. I think we, gotta get the boulevard done. And I know it's real close to making that happen.
That's good to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
Okay, next up, we have a discussion on waste management services. Mr. Bean, Dan Hanley, you want to come down or you want to listen where we're at with this?
I'll listen where we're at.
All right, very good. How's Mr. Bean doing?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm well. Thank you for having me again.
All right.
See you.
Got me on a good day, Mr. Bean. 'Cause
I know, I see that.
Yeah, I'm ready to come after you too. Seriously, I'm saying it straight out. What's your presentation? I'm in a rare mood today.
You guys invited me here, so I'm here. I'm going to start as to how to proceed as the invitation did come to the town committee.
Well, one way you proceed is the fact that you just went through, or we've gone through a transition. And certainly you can tell us how it has been on your part, and I guess in turn we'll tell you how it's going on our part.
Sure, okay, that is a good jumping off point. On our end, we found that the transition went fairly smoothly in terms of the reroutes, right? The reroutes, I think the residents got the messaging from the door hangers, so they were on board, and they also seemed to appreciate same day trash and recycle collection. We didn't experience a whole lot of tumult or pushback and issues associated with this collections, and folks not understanding when their collection day is. So that's a positive thing. And up front, we forewarned mayor and council in town that this transition's not gonna be easy. You know, changes like this do not happen quickly. There is gonna be a long period of adjustment and behavior change and reconditioning of expectations. So if there was any if you guys received any negative feedback from the residents, that was to be expected. We just told you that's just part of the process. We said we did something very similar in the town of Smyrna, where we implemented controls. We went from a collection of everything at the curb to what we had proposed to the town and was approved, which was, let's put some limitations on that, because you know what? We're far exceeding what we should expect at the curb. We're paying more, the town is paying more to dispose of this material. We need to improve the recycling so we can sort of benefit from that financial reduction in cost that you guys would have to bear. We also need to limit what's at the container. Let's define what is acceptable for collection. Let's say, and we all agreed to, let's limit to one bulk item per month. You know, that's gonna help improve or reduce what we collect. It's also gonna help improve our efficiencies and our operations. We're gonna get in and out of town fast. We're gonna dump less. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna be better. We're gonna service the town better. That's also one of the points that was also approved by the mayor and council was, let's establish some limitation on what we collect, not just the bulk. Let's define what we collect, because right now the contract says applicable waste. What is that? You know, that's everything at the curb potentially. without definitions of what we thought we did in the summer was that we defined that. We defined that as what is curbside at each household within the municipal boundaries of the town of Elkton that is containerized in one container. So with the approval in good faith, Waste Management followed that process. We got the guidance, we got the approval from council. We worked with Public Works, we worked with our design team to put out messaging to distribute to the folks in town, so they had an understanding of what to expect going forward. We devoted time, energy, resources, similar to the folks with the Southfield Development Council. They invested in the upfront costs to put together the resources to make for a successful transition. So in good faith, we did all of that. We distributed the door hangers.
No, what did you say? The development did what?
Did they not outlay cash upfront? That's what I heard, is they outlaid cash. They put up the developers associate. Whoever was on the agenda right before me, I heard a conversation regarding they made an investment in that development and it stalled. Did I not hear that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's talking about Ray.
I know
don't
you're
know what
talking
he's
about
asking
Ray, but I'm like, what do you mean they invested money into trash?
No, not trash.
Into what?
No, into the development project.
Okay.
Did they not?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I
Similar to what?
misunderstood where the conversation was going.
Okay, yeah, I'll help get you there. Yeah, so they made an investment, we made a similar investment. Now, it's complicated.
You did as they did,
Yep.
okay.
Exactly.
You did what? You made an investment.
We made a pretty significant investment, yes. Time, resources, printing the material
Oh, in the door hangers,
in the door hang.
okay, I got you.
Developing the collateral,
I'm
the
following
messaging
you
that
now.
we, I'm glad we're there. I apologize if I wasn't clear. Yeah, I tried to draw a parallel that I thought would be clear, but maybe not.
Okay.
So, that investment, ultimately, it turns out, we received there was some noise associated with the transition, which we all expected noise, right?
Yes.
But what we found was the town, with the container limitations that we had all agreed to, that means that we're not picking up all the trash at the curb. It's unacceptable to the town, and I get it,
I want to stop you real quick. You continue to use words like "we approved," "what we agreed upon," and I just want to stress, we may have agreed upon some of these things as far as a process to move forward and try these things, but I don't think we ever said not to pick up the trash. And I think that's unless we heard something different that we were trying, I don't think anyone up here ever thought that there'd be 3 trash cans out and we'd only pick up 1 trash can and the other trash can. We'd go to these apartment complexes that have 8 trash cans out in front that you'd only pick up 1 trash can. I never heard that. And
that was and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, yes, that was included in our proposal we had, and that was included in the communication plan that we shared with the
I don't know why we would ever say that we wouldn't want to pick up someone's trash, because we have to go back. If you don't pick up the trash, then we have to go back with our truck and pick that trash up. On Locust Lane right now, there's trash that's been sitting out there for at least 7 days. And you guys went through yesterday and picked up again, and they still left those same items on the street. And we haven't got a phone call yet, but I've been seeing it, and I know that I'm gonna have to call Dan, and Dan's gonna send Brian down there to put his rubber gloves on and pick up the process. Now, I'm willing to try anything, and I told you that. I like the idea of one day picking up trash and recycling together. But what I don't like is us not picking up the trash. And I know that we wanted to get that number down because we're 30% greater, 30% greater than our neighboring areas with trash. But I just like to figure out, we can get here and we can point, we can talk, we can discuss. Let's just get a solution. the solution moving forward. And that's where I want to be. This has probably been, let's see, 13 years. I'm into my 13th year as mayor, 4 years as commissioner. Charlie, how many years have you been serving now?
105.
105. And I will tell you, this has been the biggest fiasco of anything that I've ever been part of.
I agree. I agree, and I think that it relates to the
And
fact that we have the divergence interpretations of what was agreed upon at that meeting and the subsequent
Well,
message.
yeah, but, you know, we didn't ask you to do this. You initiated this. You asked us to come on board. So I would have thought, and maybe in my assumption, I was wrong, that through any hiccups, that you were still gonna do your job.
Well, we did our job. We did our job, 100%.
Then why do we
did our job.
have so
But we did our
much
job also
trash?
based on what we all had agreed upon. Now, we don't need.
We agreed to try and work through the problem. But didn't you say this was gonna take time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so day one, trash stopped getting picked up. Why wouldn't we transition into this a little easier?
Well, I don't know what trying looks like. I mean, I think trying from our perspective, my
Okay.
personal perspective,
Okay.
trying is let's
Really?
adhere to what we all thought we had agreed to, or what
Okay.
we thought we had
Okay,
agreed to.
so what
and
was your
see-
reaction when you found out we were having so many
And
problems?
see how that plays out.
So what have you done? What happened? What did you do?
We're now back to collecting everything.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had meetings with Public Works, I had conversations, via email and other times with other folks, mayor and administration. And ultimately, the decision was made, okay, we understand, we can't leave trash at the curb.
Okay,
This venture, this venture to see if we can do this successfully, to limit what's at the curb, to ultimately to land where we all wanted to land, was unsuccessful, okay? So what we did was say, all right, you know what, we tried it, apparently it's not gonna work, everybody's in agreement on this end, meaning the town, that we need to look at another way, we need to find another way to do it. Until that solution comes forward, we're just gonna go back to the old model, picking up everything. That is leftovers.
Okay, now, I appreciate what you just said. Now, Dan, if you don't mind coming up to the table with him, please, because so far I'm hearing two different things. From what we agreed on, which we didn't agree on, we told you, go ahead, try if you want, but I thought we had a time, I thought we had a timeline on that. Try it for a couple months or whatever and see how it turns out. Every time we called Dan, everything's working out fine, ain't that what you told us? We're working on a couple of hiccups, isn't that what you told us last time?
The initial controls, some of it didn't work, to be honest with you. Like if you limit the bulk, and we can identify it, that's good. When we started the process itself, we try to put everything on top of a can. Now, if you have extra bags, you on top of a can. The residents are good about that. They clean everything up, put it on top of the can. So that cleaned up. So that part cleaned up as well. So that worked out well. The diversion that Paul's talking about, which is completely diversion, is when he talks about the Smyrna project, yes, it containerized everything, but you got 96-gallon totes. You got these huge totes of CO2. What the Assumption Waste Management did was, everybody's got the small residential cans. If you got small residential cans that only holds 30 gallons, you were taking 30 and leaving the other ones. And that's where the hiccup kind of came through that particular way itself. So really it's all about, when we initially talked about controls, we do containerize as much as possible to make it more efficient. Now, not necessarily volume. You were talking more about volume, but you can't do volume if you don't get the proper containers, the proper things to do it that way. So that's the difference.
Okay, now back to you, Mr. Bean. You said that we went back to the old way. How does our resident know we're back to the old way? Did you send more flyers out and put them on the door?
Oh,
Hangers?
we can't invest it,
Okay, stop. You're
Okay, I
saying
don't know what to
what
start
you
with.
did, what
Okay.
you did. Now, we as the officials have to answer to the public of what you told us we was gonna do from the first time. Now they're still complaining to us. Number one, go down Whitehall Road, because that's where I live. You know where I live at, right? You've seen me plenty of times, just yet. Anyway, I'm out there at 6 o'clock. When you guys out there picking up at 6 o'clock, I'm out there. I see it. The last time, thanks to Lou George, I got a trash can that someone threw and broke the trash, the wheel. And it pissed me off more than anything because now I'm rolling a trash can with a broken wheel. I came right here and he got me a can the next day. Okay, that's fine and dandy. I didn't argue about that. But the worst part about a couple of days ago, I went to park on High Street, 3 trash cans in the parking spot where you couldn't park and cars had to go around me. What are you doing about that?
Here,
Go ahead and answer it.
oh, and,
What are you doing about the trash cans in the streets?
one of the reasons I wanted to come here today was not really to dig into what this transition process may look like and what the hiccups were and what the problems may be and the cause that the mayor and council may have had to respond to. And
No, you want your way right now.
No, that's not it at all.
Because you dictate to us what you want, and we're paying you and having public work come behind your
I
work
respectfully
and clean up.
I
We're not
respectfully
happy.
disagree. Here's
We're
why-
not happy.
Here's why I'm here, and I'm glad to hear your thoughts.
I'm up over
I want to
that.
feel out mayor and council in the town to see if what our partnership may look like going forward, because we attempted to try something.
Okay.
We didn't really do it together, and guess what? Now we're even further split apart, and you know what? Of course, when we picked up everything at the curb, we enjoyed a very good relationship, very cordial. Now there's a lot of vitriol in the air, and I think there's a lot of hostility, which tells me that the potential for future partnership beyond our contract obligation does not look good. It's not
Why would
look
you
good.
even bring that up?
Because that's why, because I'm interested
I
to
mean,
see
is
what
that
this
how you
picture looks
feel?
like. Absolutely,
That's how you feel. Well, don't you think that could be reversed?
I'm hoping so, but based on some of the tone of this conversation here,
Well, there's some
I
people
don't
that are
feel
very
like it's
upset, okay?
I don't,
The
And
tone
there's
you're
some
getting from
people
me is
that
from the,
Or not.
the tone you're getting from me is something that you haven't heard because I hear the way you dictate to us. We're taking all your turns and stuff, and this is the first time I got a chance to look you in the face and tell you, the work we're getting right now is poor, basically. And then, like you said, maybe the process going forward may be looking bad.
I'm sorry you perceive it as us dictating, but this is us complying with what we thought we all had agreed upon.
Okay.
Well,
Can
not
I ask
we.
you a question, though?
Absolutely.
Curious. I got an email, I don't know if it was a week or so ago, that implied there would be an $8,000 charge to us, to you, for what?
No,
Did I just read that?
you did.
Okay. You didn't put out any?
It was a
What was that?
request to, I would say, the way that I read it, and the way that I talked to Dan, with the rising cost of everything that's going up, this might be a good faith effort to make both parties look a little bit better, to finish up the contract, I'm gonna say. If I
$8,000 a month?
would probably be about 8,000, it's about $10 more, or about, how much more per household would that be?
$2. And
You
may I offer?
initiated that, Dan? Or
We had a discussion, and they said,
with Mr. B?
yeah, with Mr. Bean and with the operations. And they said, like, they were crying, oh, we're losing money. I says, because of the
Okay.
improvement.
All
I
right.
said, what's it gonna take to make you whole? That's what the number came out, that's all.
May I offer
Okay.
further clarification?
Sure.
Well, we came in good faith to talk about what's happened these past 2 weeks at that meeting. We need you, Dan, it was presented to us that, look, the model that we agreed to cannot work, it does not work, we have to pick up everything at the curb. That means it's just unacceptable to leave trash, which we got, we understood. But we said, could we set some sort of limitations to achieve the goal, the outcome that we all agreed we wanted to achieve? And we were hitting a wall, we weren't really making progress on that front. So Dan asked, is there a monetary figure that will allow you the ability to be whole, and collect everything, and recover some of the operational costs that you're losing by virtue of collecting everything? So we presented that number in response to that question. We didn't come forward with that.
I would say, once again, I think that if you're picking up all the trash right now, and I think that to answer Earl's question, you're not good, we're still doing the 1 day a week pickup,
Correct.
but we're not going back to the old way, but we're picking up everything on that specific Tuesday, for example, for me.
Yes.
I would say what I'd like to see is maybe over the next month, maybe we wait until after Christmas, maybe we could look into January. Listen, you guys are a valuable vendor to us. So listen, we have some hiccups. We're family. You know, I always say that. We'll argue a little bit here, but, and we may respectfully disagree on the direction we want to go, but we want to resolve these things the best that we can. And I'm willing, and I think that the only way I can see us, I'm going to use the word finish line again, to get there, is we have to really figure out how we're going to separate recycling and regular trash. If we have to provide our residents with marked containers, because our residents aren't following the rules neither. And we have to put something in place for our residents who fail to do the right thing, that we have to be able to have some recourse on them if it's a tenant putting more product out there than they should. I think that these are things that we can discuss in the next month, and I'm willing to figure out how we can acquire a blue trash can and a green trash can for our residents of our town. I'm willing to figure out how we can do that, right? So that there's no question from your standpoint when your first truck comes through. I see that they have to look inside the cans to see if it's recycling to try to speed up this process. But what I said to Dan the other day is I still believe that we have to do something different in areas like Hollingsworth Manor, Buttonwoods, and I think that's still going to have to be the old-fashioned pick up the bag and throw it into the trash truck. And I'm not an expert on this. You guys, you're the expert, and so we're going to rely on some assistance here. But I think moving forward, we need to marry up this plan, because we do have to give notice to you, I think, in April if we're going to put it out on bid in September, right? So maybe if we can get this worked out, we got some time here. Make sense?
I mean, sure, it makes perfect sense, and we had conceded early on that, look, if a resident doesn't have a container, we're gonna pick up the bags. I mean, let's define it. I mean, that was the problem. Nothing was defined.
I think if we're back picking up everything, I'm okay with the bulk. They have to call in. I think that everyone's on it. Do you think it's working better now, Dan?
I think it's cleaner, because if you limit what's out there, then people won't turn away home, like, you know, living room suites, all that kind of stuff, so it looks like good that way, so. That's been limiting, it does clean it up, because if it's open, so we got that. The other thing we're doing for recycling is Brian's actually taking the PO recognizance for this one, is we're giving all the resident stickers. We're getting like 2, 3 recycling stickers. If it says recycling, pop it over the place. What we told the waste management drivers is if it says recycling, then it's good. If it doesn't say it, then it's regular trash. So that was the other hiccups that we're going through, so. It's just when we thought the original drivers would be there for trash and recycling, sometimes the drivers got mixed up or something like that, and had an issue with the recycling. So we're working through that one as well. So if they see the stickers, which we have now, we've been giving to people, that hopefully works out the same thing. The one consequence we have of this is because of the whole transition, people have asking more about recycling. So I think our numbers are probably going up, because now the residents realize, hey, you know, I do have to recycle to a point. So not tremendous, but there is a side benefit.
Well, I'd like to maybe focus in on the recycling at a smaller, more specific recycling. So if we want to say, you're recycling milk jugs, you're recycling
Cardboard's easy to say.
Cardboard and milk jugs and water jugs or glass. I think that's what we should push that. Even though the county says something else, I think if we kept it a little more simpler, I think that we could build on that. Because right now we're contaminating a lot of recycling and it goes into the regular trash and we're paying 3 times more.
Oh, my, yeah.
See, that's the problem. If we eliminated recycling all the way, which I could almost raise my hand up and say maybe that's the play to go, I hate to say it, I recycle, my wife recycles. Can I ask the board, do you recycle, Gene?
No.
Charles?
50/50.
Earl? Rob?
I do.
Okay,
I
so,
can.
so we're 50/50 up here too, right? And, but I know that our town isn't. I know that it's not. We're doing our best to try to encourage recycling, and I think that's the right thing to do for a responsible thing to do on the town's behalf. But I think that if we can, that's something that we limit. We tell the individuals, put your milk jug in there, put your water jug, then we won't then it'll be a no-brainer on what we can't contaminate it. But do we have anything else to add? But can we schedule some meetings and figure out what we can, how we can move forward?
Of course, I mean, we're always willing to have conversations, we're always willing to discourse and dialogue with our partners.
Let's see how it goes.
I would like to add this, that I do recycle, my cans are clearly marked. And I make sure that the recycling label faces the street, so they can clearly see when they pull up which is which. However, I still see the guys come up, grab both cans, same truck. I've heard this from other people around the town. I don't think every truck is doing it, but I've seen it done at my house repeatedly. The other problem that we're hearing is that they don't put the cans back on the curb, they put them in the street, and when you pull up, you have to get out and move the can and then park. So those are the two major concerns, and the one is huge. I mean, personally, I have no problem putting the can back up on the curb, but when I go through the trouble of separating, and then I see both of them go into the same truck, that's a little frustrating.
Well, our team is trained to not commingle trash and recycling. I'm not saying what you've experienced is not the truth, but you know, often trucks can be mistaken for the other. But I'll look into that.
Appreciate that.
Of course.
And the cans, yeah, just put the cans back where you got them from. I mean, if somebody leaves their can in the street for you to pick it up, well then, hey, I understand.
We will and we do. We make every effort to do that.
Yeah, I know.
There are cases where, you know, if there's vehicles there, we place them back down. If it's, you know, like a town, some of the designs, right, are not
They're all
ideal
different.
for trash collection, you know. So sometimes we do have to place them elsewhere to create room.
Okay.
Well, since we've been having these conversations, I have been paying very close attention when they pull up to my house. Gene and I live right next door to each other. So.
And I want to revamp my thing. I do recycle when I can use Rob's can.
Oh, see, there you
Oh,
go.
wait, that's why they're picking them both up.
So that's three out of five now.
All the time.
So are we sending the trash cans back out in the streets or on the sidewalk?
We're
Because,
putting them back where we got them.
no, I'm saying, are the residents, because residents now are starting to put them in the street because that's what they want us to do. Now, are we back to the old way, back on the sidewalk? Because that's where,
Well, that was never part of the conversation. We never asked to redesign where you place your cars.
put it out on the street so they can pick it up with an arm. You guys never said that? Okay, I heard something. Okay.
Anything else to add?
Well, since you brought it up, Mr. Mayor, we did talk about, Dan asked us how to make us whole and establish a better sort of feel for the reversion back to where we were and where we wanted to be. Is there any opportunity for us to have conversation about some sort of remuneration for that? We floated the figure of $8 a month, which is probably excessive. That was just doing some quick math on a napkin. But I would ask just some sort of good faith effort from the town. It's not a deal breaker. I'll walk out of here. If it's a no, we're going to continue to service the town as we agreed.
Can you make a presentation to us, or, I mean, put it in writing for us and submit it?
Absolutely.
All right.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead.
And for me to understand, and if it's a dumb question, forgive me, but I'm
Sure,
going to ask
no.
it anyway. The $8,000, does that cover additional tipping fees at the county, or does it cover equipment cost, or just picking up more garbage than other places?
It's not tipping fees, it's the time and it's the investment, it's the people, the resources, it's the skyrocketing cost of everything that is associated with operating.
And
Please
I'm
put that in
asking-
your letter.
I will.
And one other question to ask. And again, so if we limit the amount, even if our residents throw out more than average places, if we limit how much our residents are supposed to dispose of, what do they do with the rest? Do they keep a hold of it? Does Dan, and I think that's something that's got to be looked at. If we're going to limit how much can be disposed of, well, if our residents still have more trash to dispose of, does DPW come pick it up then? What do we do with it? What does the resident do with it?
That's a very good question, and
Okay.
I guess what I've asked myself is, why does the town of Elkton generate 47 pounds of trash per home versus the industry average is 30 pounds? I don't know. I don't know how the residents do it.
But the good news is, actually, we're trending down this year, so we did, I think this year, we're like 4,800 tons, 4,800 tons so far. So we're probably, last year we were probably about like 57, so we'll be a little bit less for this year, but I'm not sure what the final numbers going to be yet. So our numbers are trending down a little bit, just because of the COVID, people back to work. So
Now, is that just through waste management? That doesn't count what you do on the side.
that's numbers definitely landfill, so that's everything.
So that would be when you have, did you go get the trash yourself and everything?
That's everything.
That
It
includes,
is in landfill, yes.
so if you have neighborhood cleanups,
That's part of that.
so that number encompasses everything.
So we're trending down versus 2020, 2021.
Okay. How many extra containers did you have to purchase or put out for trash pickup since we started this new schedule?
We haven't done, we don't provide, we haven't provided trash cans.
Not trash cans, at the plant.
Oh, at the plant?
You've had so many containers.
We maintain three yard dumpsters at the plant
Okay.
for additional trash we pick up, but also because people like to dump anyway, the other way, because they're dumping.
Right.
That's the thing, instead of going with the landfill, that's something we found more efficient, but
Okay.
people, things are still gonna dump, and that happens in common areas. We attack that because we care about the appearance of the community, so we did that anyway, so. We do, we always have the same, like, 30-yard dumpsters. Is it more just goes to the trash? Maybe a little bit, but again, we do a lot of bulk.
So you still have, you didn't increase that number?
Not at the moment, no. So we still have, like, we have the common areas of things, we jump on that one. Those are, your mattresses, those are your couches, those are just anything pop-up. So we see that, we take that, so.
Yeah, all right, so when you had to go around behind waste management and pick up all this trash, where did you put it?
It's in dumpsters, yeah. I mean, it was probably probably a few dumpsters worth, but I really don't,
Okay, I'm not gonna worry about
I
it.
got you.
I was just curious. All right,
Understand.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All righty, Lou, you're up.
Item I have is the agreement with the National Red Cross. They currently lease property at 207 Blue Wall Avenue. And it's just a small area where they store things, 200 square feet. And we've had that contract with them, or a lease with them, for quite a while. And they want to extend the lease for 2 years, beginning April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2025. It's nominal to give us $1 a year. It's one of those types of things, but it's an asset to the community to have. The American Red Cross have a supply area in the town. And I don't think it inconveniences the public works at all. So I would recommend that the board agree to the 12th Amendment to the lease agreement with the American Red Cross.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the 12th Amendment to the lease agreement?
Second?
We've got a motion and a second. I do have a comment, though, Lou. we were considering looking at a parcel that adjoined Public Works, it was brought upon me. So we definitely do not need that Red Cross building for Public Works at this point. Is that the, is that the feel?
At the moment, we just maintain our sign shop down there at the moment, you know, that, we maintain some drawings at the moment, so.
I didn't know if it would have any value to move them next door to the Red Cross. Or is that, are we using the building?
I don't know, they only use 300 square feet.
Yeah, all the Red Cross is using is a closet, basically.
Oh, well,
it's a
very good.
closet. Yeah, basically, the whole building's ours, it's just they literally use, you know.
Oh, you answered that then. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Pass that one over to. Anything else, Lou?
That's all I had for the Red Cross.
Okay, we have an appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have a couple members we need to do, and Sam Goldwater has asked to reserve on the Board of Appeals. Do we have a motion to accept Sam Goldwater for a term from 12/7/22 through 1/31/24?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on Sam Goldwater? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And Earl, you mentioned that you had someone interested on the planning commission. Could you get his information over to Michelle, and we'll get him on that board next go round, okay? Okay, I had a couple different things. Steve, I keep getting a call from Fulton Bank in regards to that STRIM or CRIM program. I think they've been calling you also.
Right, I have to get over to Mr. Gibbons and get a copy of his driver's license, which the last copy we had was actually.
You still got your license?
You still have a current driver's license.
Yeah.
Because your name.
I just didn't know if they took them away from you.
Yeah. No, I was going to approach him after.
Oh, my God.
But the amount that we were talking about earlier, that $10 million, that's not going to be available.
That's correct.
I don't know if that's going to change their interest in it or not.
Well, I think you and I had it.
Send an email to them.
So the way the CRIM program worked, we had a presentation, and we would invest the town's money into that program, and then the CDs, they would be staggered CDs, like I think every 30 or 60 days, and they floated depending on the interest rates, and it allowed us to gain a little bit greater interest rate. But the way the interest rates are going right now, we may be able to get 5% without.
But I hope not disappointed that, I hope their mind wasn't so set on the 10 million being available for investment, and particularly looking at the ARPA money.
That's correct. No, I'm fine on what you decide, but I just know he's been reaching out to me, and
I responded to him just yesterday, but I do need to get Commissioner Gibbons a copy of his driver's license.
okay. And let's see. Hey, Lou, you mentioned about redoing the pump house.
Yeah, well number 3.
So well number 3, it would be a structure similar to what you're doing to the one down on Frenchtown. Well house number 4?
Yes, well number 4.
Well number 4. That's one thing I don't know the numbers very well on those pump houses. So what's the process? You're going to go ahead and
I've already initiated the process of contacting KCI for a design proposal.
perfect. Very good. Mr. John Downs, I got you here. Where do we stand on the Holly Hall property?
I think the last time I reported that the title search was ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier this week, a couple days ago, I got an email from Wendy, I forget her last name, who was doing the title search. I think that it has the contents. I have not had an opportunity to go through the thing, but I think I have what I need to start the next step.
Perfect, perfect. And I wanted to let the board know that I will not be here next Wednesday
For a workshop.
for our workshop. So, Commissioner Gibbons, can you handle the gavel?
I can handle the gavel.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, Commissioner Mastriano?
I have a couple things. I met with ERP about the security cameras. That meeting went well. A contract is in the offing, and we will present that very soon to the board. I also met with Underwood about the flooding issues. We had a long day of walking and driving along the creek. He seemed pretty optimistic. This is going to be a multi-year plan. We're talking about something that's going to be good for our kids and their kids, so it's all good stuff. But a presentation will be forthcoming about that very soon. I called the principals of the high school and the middle school, and they are going to call me back very soon and arrange a date for us to come and speak with the students. Remember, I talked about that at last meeting. Other than that, I just want to remind everybody that the cookie throwdown is Friday night downtown Elkton, and I'm entering a cookie, so come get you some.
Oh, nice.
That's all I have.
I have to say, the cookie you made a few years ago was pretty good.
Almost one.
Where are you buying them?
Don't you worry about
The
it.
crabby.
You just
Commissioner
made
Piner?
You just made one cookie?
It was big.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Thanks for those persons, I guess starting with Michelle and Kathy for their due diligence for the Christmas party that was held on Saturday.
Very good, thank you.
It was all Catherine.
She says it was all Catherine.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job. I want to thank, I don't know what you call her, Miss Laura. I forget what you call her.
The general,
Oh, the general. I was going to say sergeant, but I knew that wasn't right.
admiral.
I'm in awe with what she did. I've never seen anything like that. It's remarkable. I'd love to have a conversation with her sometime to find out exactly how that all was done. We've gotten, I think, a lot of feedback on it too, because everybody notices it. So it's just reaching out and saying, you know, happy holidays to everybody. So thank you very much. Please let her know how much we all appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And the Christmas party was good. I'd like to add Commissioner Gibbons. Kathleen did a good job. And other than that, I have nothing else.
Fantastic. Lou, is the water treatment plant up and running? From, we're not pulling any more water from Artesian at this point.
We withdrew 248,000 gallons from Artesian yesterday, but our limit's 250.
Okay.
And the plant is operating, but the UV system is not in operation yet, but the plant's operating.
Is there parts missing, or what do we?
No, it just need to have an electrical contract to finish one of the UVs.
Very good.
That's all, and that'll be done for 2 months.
Very good. This is the time we open up the floor for anyone from the public that has anything for the good of the town of Elkton. Anyone on the Zoom meeting have anything for the good for the town of Elkton? I did want to mention that Christmas lighting was Friday. I saw Pat up there, and I wanted to mention that it was another very nice event. With that, yeah, Gene, are you going to be able to attend the gym rededication on December 9th?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to put you down as a question.
Yeah, I never know till that day.
Okay, with that, Earl, you wanted to have a closed meeting? Okay, do we have a motion to have a closed meeting to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of employees, appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals? Do we have a motion?
So
And a second. Any comments or questions? Who, I think it'll just be, who do you want in the meeting?
Lewis, lawyer, and
Okay, so we're gonna have Lou, Michelle, John, and you want a Jean in there? You want Jean? Okay.
HR person.
And Andy. Perfect. Okay, with that, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And we will not reconvene.